Welcome to the deep dive. Have you ever stopped to think, really think, about how just a simple one-way ticket could spark this huge personal change? Something way beyond just, different view outside your window.
It's a fascinating thought, isn't it? That decision, deciding not to have a return date,
Yeah.
it often signals something deeper, like a real readiness well, for whatever comes next.
Yeah.
Embracing the unknown.
Exactly. And that readiness, that's what we're diving into today. This isn't just about a cool trip through Europe, though it is that too.
Right.
It's about how these real world experiences, these practical moments, become this amazing classroom for learning English. And at the same time, how they lead you down this path of self-discovery.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission really is to unpack how that happens. How does struggling to order coffee actually transform your language skills and maybe even how you see yourself?
And we're basing this on a really compelling story, a personal account from someone who basically said, enough with the routine,
Yeah.
and just went for it. Solo trip across Europe. It's a fantastic example of learning by living it.
Okay, so let's get into this journey. It started with that feeling, that realization, I need a change. Life felt repetitive.
That work home sleep cycle,
Yeah,
very familiar for many people.
totally. And they were craving excitement, new stories, new faces, different foods, and crucially, new languages.
Mm-hmm.
So that led to this pretty bold move, traveling alone across Europe
Mm-hmm.
for 3 months. And here's the kicker, no return date booked.
And that's key, isn't it? It wasn't just running from the routine.
Yeah.
It was actively seeking something more, richness, novelty,
Right.
and that no return date. It's more than just flexibility. It feels like a commitment, a real openness to the journey itself.
And you see the practical learning kick in immediately,
Yeah.
like right from booking the flight online.
The first hurdle.
Yeah. Suddenly words like round trip, one way, and layover weren't just vocabulary, they were essential.
You needed to know them, like understanding that short layover in Amsterdam before getting to Lisbon.
Exactly. It's not abstract learning from a book.
No, it's driven by necessity. Your brain just grabs onto what you need to achieve your goal right then and there. Sticks much better that way.
Okay, so flight booked. Next up, packing. Our traveler went with the traveling light philosophy.
Smart move, especially in Europe.
Oh, yeah. Only the essentials. It gives you so much freedom, doesn't it? Especially, like you said, on those old cobblestone streets. Try dragging a huge suitcase over those.
Nightmare fuel. So traveling light, it's practical, but it also feels symbolic, like shedding stuff you don't need before you start something big.
That's a great way to put it. And practically, it meant learning
Yeah.
terms like carry-on bag, the one you take on the plane, versus check-in luggage.
Right. And things like travel-sized toiletries. Gotta fit it all in.
So what actually made the cut? Just 2 pairs of jeans, 4 t-shirts, a light jacket, passport, documents, obviously, a universal adapter lifesaver, and a small journal.
Very minimal. Speaks volumes about that commitment to freedom of movement.
Then comes the airport itself, which is like a whole language immersion course in itself.
Definitely. Think about all the steps.
You've got to check in, get your boarding pass, find the right gate, go through customs and security.
Mm-hmm.
Our traveler literally had to use the language. I showed my boarding pass at gate 22. That's real communication with real stakes.
And they mentioned feeling nervous, but also excited, right?
Yeah, that mix, which I think most of us feel when we're stepping into something big and unknown.
And that feeling, that edge of anxiety mixed with anticipation. It actually helps learning sometimes. You're alert, you're focused, because you're slightly out of your comfort zone, makes you more receptive.
So they land in Lisbon,
Mm-hmm.
and the city just felt warm, bright, welcoming.
Nice first impression.
But immediately, more practical stuff.
Yeah.
Finding the currency exchange, figuring out public transportation buses, metro, and finding their accommodation.
Which was a hostel, I believe.
Yes, exactly. Budget-friendly, shared rooms, common areas.
And hostels are interesting, aren't they? Beyond just saving money, what do they offer someone trying to learn and grow?
Well, just imagine the mix of people, right? Our traveler met people from Canada, Argentina, South Korea, like right away.
Instantly.
Yeah. and suddenly the world feels smaller. Everyone's away from home, curious, open. It must be amazing for language practice.
It really is. Hostels are these incredible melting pots, linguistically and culturally. You get tons of what linguists call comprehensible input, language you can mostly understand, and you're kind of forced to speak, but in a relaxed way. Great for breaking down barriers.
And that openness really seemed to carry through. Next day, exploring Lisbon, just wandering the streets, trying pastéis de nata.
Custard tarts, essential.
Totally. And visiting the viewpoints, the Miradouros. This meant needing more sightseeing phrases.
Like,
Things like, where is the nearest metro station? Or how much is the entrance ticket? Maybe, do you have an English map? Even, can I take a picture here?
all very practical, immediate needs. You use the phrase, you get the result, or you figure out why not. Instant feedback.
And the source mentions those practical tips too. Carry water, sunscreen, a copy of your ID. Good reminders.
And using things like a student card for discounts. Smart travel.
Yeah. Now, language-wise, while lots of younger people in Portugal spoke English, our travelers still made an effort with basic Portuguese.
Which is so important.
Just simple things. Olá for hello, obrigado or obrigada for thank you. Desculpa for, quanto custa for how much.
It's not about fluency at that stage. It's about showing respect, showing interest. And often locals really appreciate it and are even more helpful. Even if you switch back to English, it builds a connection.
Definitely. Okay, so after soaking up Lisbon, it was time for a change of pace. A 13-hour overnight train to Barcelona.
Wow, long journey, an experience in itself.
Exactly. And it came with its own set of vocabulary. Finding the right platform, knowing the departure time, figuring out the sleeper cabin, dealing with the train conductor.
Had to show the ticket, find the right spot. More real-world language use.
But again, it was the human connection that stood out. They shared the cabin with Clara from Italy.
Ah.
And they just talked for hours, shared stories, dreams, and apparently some funny language mix-ups.
Oh, like what?
Well, Clara told this story about accidentally ordering raw meat in Prague because she thought it was a salad based on the name.
Oh no, happens to the best of us. But laughing about those moments, sharing them, that's powerful too, right? It makes language learning less intimidating. It's about connecting, not perfection.
Absolutely. So they arrive in Barcelona,
Yeah.
and it's just bam. Sensory overload, loud, colorful, street performers dancing, amazing food smells everywhere.
A different energy entirely.
Yeah. They checked into a guest house, this time smaller, maybe more personal than a hostel. Went through the reservation and check in again.
And that sensory input, that vibrant atmosphere, it doesn't just immerse you culturally, it forces your brain to engage on so many levels. Words get linked to sounds, smells, sights, makes learning really stick.
Totally. And in Barcelona, food is huge. They tried paella, tapas, churros, even did a food tour.
Smart. Great way to learn and eat.
And it meant learning crucial food phrases. What do you recommend? Is this dish spicy? Super important. I have a food allergy. And of course, can I have the bill, please?
Essential survival phrases.
And they even started noting down descriptive words. Delicious, savory, sweet, bitter, crunchy. So eating became this active vocabulary lesson.
It shows how different situations naturally create their own relevant curriculum. You learn what you need when you need it. Very effective.
Okay, but here comes a real test. A moment that sounds quite challenging. One day in Barcelona, they got completely lost.
Oh dear.
Phone dead, and couldn't find anyone nearby who spoke English.
Right, that's a proper challenge. Not just finding your way, but communicating when your main tool seems to fail. What happened?
Well, it sounds like it forced them to be resourceful. They had to use very simple English, rely heavily on gestures, walked into a shop, basically said, "Excuse me, I'm lost. Help me find the metro."
Yeah.
And it worked. Slowly, maybe with some confusion, but the shopkeeper understood and pointed the way.
See, that's what happens when you have to communicate. That fear, that anxiety, what linguists call the affective filter, it just drops. You prioritize getting the message across over perfect grammar. You find a way.
It really sounds like a breakthrough moment,
Yeah,
stripping away the fear of making mistakes.
absolutely.
And through experiences like that, more general travel English got picked up. Do you accept credit cards? Is there Wi-Fi here? I'm looking for this address. Is it within walking distance? And checking out. I'd like to check out.
All super useful.
Plus, they had this discipline, writing down 5 new words or phrases every day.
Ah, the journal.
Yeah, which meant by the end, they'd naturally learned over 200 useful expressions, not by rote memorization, but by actually using them.
That's the key, isn't it? Active, contextualized learning. It sticks because it's meaningful.
Okay, next stop, Paris.
Mm.
Took a bus this time, had to navigate border control, another little interaction.
Mm-hmm.
And Paris. Oh, it's Paris. Eiffel Tower, cafes, the whole vibe, pretty awe-inspiring.
I imagine.
And here, they practice some specific hotel English. Things like, can I have a room with a view? Or, what time is breakfast served? Do you offer late checkout?
Good practical stuff, even if the replies were in French, making the effort.
Exactly. Often met with a smile, understanding. It reinforces that trying is worthwhile.
And it highlights how English often becomes that bridge, that common ground, even when you're trying to engage with the local language too.
True. After the magic of Paris, though, the journey continued to Milan, Italy.
Okay.
And here, the language barrier felt a bit higher again. Not speaking Italian, they felt more like a stranger.
Interesting how that feeling can resurface.
Yeah. And it actually forced a new skill. Speaking English more slowly, more clearly, be more precise.
That's a valuable lesson in itself. Communication isn't just about what you say, but how you say it, ensuring you're understood.
So what do you do when English doesn't seem to be working? The source actually gives some good phrases for that.
Like what? Crucial tools.
Things like, do you speak English? The obvious starting point. Can you show me on the map? Using visuals. I don't understand. Can you repeat that? And maybe the most important one. Please speak slowly.
Essential phrases for perseverance. Don't just give up. Adapt.
And it reinforced that earlier lesson. Don't fear mistakes. There's another great little story about finding a specific church in Milan, Santa Maria delle Grazie.
Ah, where the Last Supper is.
Right. They just asked a shopkeeper who didn't speak English, just said the name, maybe pointed at a map, but the shopkeeper got it, pointed the way.
Perfect example. Communication achieved. Goal met. Grammar wasn't the point. Connection and understanding were.
Exactly. It's about function over form sometimes.
And of course, being in Italy means eating. So those food phrases come back, adapted. A table for one, please? I'd like the menu in English, if possible.
Good one. Also, I'm vegetarian. What do you recommend? And learning the phrase for takeaway. Can I have it to go?
All helping navigate daily life and enjoy the culture.
So the final leg of this journey we're following takes us to Greece, Athens. Yeah, staying at a guest house run by someone named Eleni. And Eleni said something that really struck our traveler, kind of marked a shift.
What was that?
She said, travel is not about running from your life. It's about becoming more alive in it.
Wow. That's profound. It really captures how the focus shifts, doesn't it? From the external journey to the internal one.
It really does. It felt like a pivot point in the narrative. It wasn't just about ticking off cities or learning phrases anymore.
It became about something deeper. Self-discovery.
Exactly. Though the practical stuff continued, of course, in Athens. Where can I buy a ticket? Is there a student discount? How do I get to the Acropolis? Is it open today?
Standard tourist questions, but probably asked with more confidence by now.
I bet. And the daily hotel things. Is breakfast included? Do you have a laundry service? Can I leave my bag here after checkout?
All routine by this point, probably. But what was happening underneath? You mentioned a deeper change.
Yeah. By the third week or so, they realized they weren't just a tourist anymore. They were learning to really listen, to adapt constantly, and, importantly, to trust people, strangers they met along the way.
That's a huge shift. Moving from just observing to actively, confidently participating, trusting yourself and others.
And this leads to this really poignant moment. Sitting alone by the sea in some quiet Greek village, no Wi-Fi, just quiet. They took out that journal and wrote something incredibly powerful. I thought I came to see the world, but I think the world is helping me see myself.
Ah, there it is. That really sums it all up, doesn't it? Travel is a mirror. It shows you who you are when you're stripped of the familiar, Shows your own resourcefulness, your resilience.
It confronts you with yourself in a way daily life rarely does.
Definitely.
So just to quickly recap some of that later vocabulary that became second nature through use: takeaway or to go, student discount included, laundry service, guest house.
All practical words deeply learned because they were immediately useful, connected to real actions and consequences.
So wrapping up this deep dive, it just seems crystal clear how this story shows travel as this incredibly potent teacher.
Absolutely.
Yes, you gain practical language skills, obviously, that's huge, but it's more than that. It's about building this real confidence, this resilience.
Facing the unknown and realizing you can handle it.
Right. And getting a much deeper understanding, not just of the world, but of yourself within it.
It shows that language learning, when it's tied to real, authentic experience, it unlocks so much more than just communication.
Yeah.
It becomes a tool for empathy, for genuine connection, for understanding different cultures, and yeah, ultimately for knowing yourself better, profound self-realization even.
So the question for you listening is, what does this spark in you? And maybe think about this. Every step on a journey, whether it's navigating an airport, learning a new word, even making a mistake,
Hmm.
it's not just something that happens to you. It's part of your transformation.
Hmm. A building block.
So how might leaning into that discomfort, that feeling of being a bit lost or unsure on your next journey, how might that unlock perspectives or growth you never even knew was possible? Something to think about.